Hey guys, how's it going? This video is going to be a little bit different, as it actually has very little video in it. This is a project I started long before my channel. Back in November 2014, my then fiance and I moved to our first house, and we couldn't be happier. We bought the house from another couple who had just completely flipped it from top to bottom. I think at this time, my only disappointment with the house is that I didn't have any projects to do. Fast forward to October of 2015, the fiance and I decide to change out the cabinet and sink in the basement bathroom, as well as give it a new coat of paint. As far as we could tell, this was the one corner of the house that the flip didn't touch. So after we bought the countertop, sink, and paint, I started our first reno in our new house. I started with pulling the cabinet away from the wall, and the problem was immediately obvious. This cabinet was growing mold between itself and the wall. So with gloves in hand and dust mask on face, I started attacking the drywall and found that the mold was merely a symptom of a much bigger problem. Water had made its way into the walls from either an overflow or a leak and wreaked havoc on the insulation and framing. The base plate was completely rotten out, and unfortunately the rot proceeded behind the shower. At this point, I had my uncle come over to take a look to see what his recommendation would be to potentially minimize the damage to the nice tiled shower. He had not so great news and informed me that the shower was not waterproofed properly. So I spent the next week chiseling all of the tile off my walls. So I got everything pulled out of here now. All the insulation's gone that I'm going to remove. Now I need to replace this because it's completely rotten out and the rest of the studs actually have no support whatsoever. So that's what I need to pull out. And then here's the next issue. I got this crack going all the way up the wall, which is just great. So that's my project for the next couple days. Yay. With yet another repair coming up, I removed all of the rotten material, grabbed my air hammer, and began to widen the crack, in order to get the sealant I picked up as far into the crack as possible. In hindsight now, I probably should have just gone straight to the ceiling with the stud repairs, but I did not think of that at the time. I did make sure that there was at least 1 foot of overlap between the original and replacement portion. So with the crack sealed and the studs repaired, I insulated and vapor barriered the exterior wall of the bathroom, then moved on to the new shower. I didn't have the budget to do a new tiled shower, so we picked up a fiberglass insert that barely fit through the rough framed doorway. Unfortunately, the plumbing did not match up completely to this new insert, so I needed to move the drain. I also ended up having to raise the shower up 2 inches, so I built a platform out of pressure-treated 2x4s for the shower to sit on, which gave me just enough space. Satisfied that the plumbing was solved, I moved on to the new framing, as this shower needed solid walls on 3 sides. This allowed me the space for some built-in shelving on the left side of the shower. Figuring I did not need the full 32 inches of depth for the one built-in, I cut a hole in the wall behind the door of the adjacent room to allow for 2 built-in shelving units where there was wasted space with the previous setup. With the framing done and the melamine walls installed in the built-in cabinet, I moved on to the absolute worst job of any renovation. The job where any progress seems to grind to a complete halt. Drywall and plaster. Really not much to say about this. It's drywall and plaster. Boring. Probably the last project of 2015 was installing the new fan and light. It took me probably 4 days consulting with the fiance's dad and my uncle to figure out a tricky wiring issue. We ended up just needing to abandon a wire in the wall. No worries, it's not live and it's terminated anyway. Moving into 2016 now. Plaster and paint is done. Bunch of YouTube videos later, I tackled installing the linoleum. Luckily it's a small room and the screw-ups are not noticeable. I glued it down on top of the existing linoleum, which works. However, if you really look at it, you can see that the line pattern from the old lino is showing up in the new lino. It doesn't bug me too much, but it is the type of thing that could really bug someone else. Something to keep in mind if you're doing this yourself. With the floor done, it was time for the new cabinet, sink, and toilet to be installed. This cabinet came with its own legs. However, with them it would have been too high and blocked off the outlet, which I did not raise. So I fashioned a box out of 2x3s, as that was what I had on hand, and leveled it out with cedar shims. Now it sits at a perfect height. For me anyways.
The backsplash around the top of the shower was a bit of a hassle. The glass mosaic tile that my fiance and I picked up ended up not working for me, as I couldn't cut the tile without it shattering unevenly. So basically, once I had it finished, I ripped it down and started again. I think I like the new look better. Overall, 2016 was not nearly as productive of a reno year, as we shortly got busy planning our June wedding. And then shortly after, we were helping my sister with her September wedding. Less than a week after my sister's wedding, my wife and I were rear-ended in a car accident and ended up having to do pretty much nothing for 6 months while our whiplash healed up. But we're both back to normal now and have lots of projects that I'm wanting to do. So, thank you all for sticking with this video. Stay tuned for more videos coming up. Hope you guys have a good one.